Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities! That's right. Today we're going to be looking at the last Amazon skill. That's right, we're pretty much done. This is the last one, the last of the Mohicans. It is Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike is a pretty amazing ability, and although it doesn't really outclass Lightning Fury, it is the most amazing AoE damage ability for the physical melee spear Zon. The Zon that doesn't have access to Lightning Fury. It does really nice AoE damage. It sucks for single target, but it's good at AoE, and that's what we like about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go take a look at its AoE ability, and I'm going to kind of show you what it's capable of. In fact, did I already? Okay, I didn't kill everything in this one. So as you can see, the lightning bolt travels back and forth between targets over and over and over again, up to a total of 46 times, which is kind of insane. And it will continue to jump between targets as long as they are close enough to the original bolt. So let me see if I can give you guys some more specifics than just, hey, it jumps between monsters that are close. So the exact specifics is if there is another target within 13 and a third yards, it will bounce to the next target. There's also more, though. So it will not bounce to another target that has been hit by another lightning bolt within the next hit delay of the ability. Lightning Strike has a next hit delay of 4 frames, which is essentially 4 over 25ths of a second. So it's pretty fast. So as long as the monster hasn't been hit by a lightning strike within 4 25ths of a second, it will continually bounce back and forth between all targets. Now this does mean that spamming it doesn't really have the greatest effect because it does cause the lightning bolts to cease their jumps earlier than they would normally. It's also important to note that any monster that's in between the actual jumps kind of gets hit too, although it's not very common because usually it jumps from one monster to the closest monster nearby, so it doesn't happen very often. And the damage output is not bad at 5,482 per jump. With 46 hits, it actually outputs pretty good damage for only one hit. I mean, you literally just tap the monster, and you can literally just watch the mayhem that ensues as it slowly goes back and forth between all the monsters over and over and over again. Now, you notice that it doesn't actually go for 46 hits. And the reason why sometimes it doesn't go for 46 hits is because, number one, there's not 2 monsters to jump. As you can see, it ceased as soon as the second monster died, so it's not going to do any damage to a single target. You need multiple targets there for it to do its damage output. Also, if the monster was hit by a lightning bolt too quickly, in other words, if it's before that 0.4 delay has finished, then the bolt will not jump. It also ceases to jump if the monster is too far away. So if it goes too far away from the original source, it will stop jumping because the monsters are too far apart. As we said, they have to be 13 and 1/3 yards within range. Now, as a visual example, Conviction has a 13-yard radius. So as you can see, he is just close enough to be within the Conviction range. Let me see if I can find some stationary monsters so I can show you just about how far Conviction goes. Frigid Highlands, perhaps, if we got some archers. Okay, so we got the Spear Cats. As you can see, they're currently within the range, but this one is not. So this one is just outside of the 13-yard radius. So the monster has to be within the distance of myself and this guy right here. Otherwise, there will be no jumps. So it is kind of a shortish range ability in those terms. And as long as the monsters are nice and densely packed, you'll get the jumps that you're looking for. Like when we kill Shank here, I can throw one lightning bolt up, and you'll see that it just like travels back and forth between everything and murders all the monsters on the screen. But then when it comes to Shank himself, I would rather switch to Charge Strike, which is going to be my higher single target damage output. because it's going to deal way more damage on him versus the others. Now, I've always found Lightning Strike to be an insanely useful ability, just simply because it targets everything for you. It's basically an auto-target ability. All you have to do is make sure that you're using it at the right times, and you don't even have to spam it. So in between the Lightning Strikes, you can usually just spam Charge Strike. There's absolutely no reason as a Spears on not to tap Lightning Strike at the beginning of your attack and then continue with your Charge Strike as needed. And I would probably say that you could just alternate between the two. So just attack with charged and then lightning, or lightning and then charged, lightning and then charged, lightning and then charged. And you would probably get the best damage output that way, because you would always have the Lightning Strike running, doing its thing in the group of monsters, while the Charge Strike is doing its job killing the tougher single targets. And this is players 8, by the way. Like, to give you a really good example, the Lightning Strike is obliterating monsters in P8. It's doing an extremely good job of it, too. We could even go to somewhere like River of Flame, and you'll notice that it's pretty much still the same. Now, of course, this is a small group of monsters. So a small group of monsters, Charge Strike. Charge Strike is your friend for the small groups. You want the big groups for the Lightning Strike. You want the ones that have the tons of monsters, so the Lightning Strike can travel all over the place and hit everything nearby, like in insanity. So that you're dishing out damage not to just this monster right here, but also these guys over here, and these guys over here, and so forth and so on. And switching back and forth between the two, you get the better damage output, and you can kill the monsters quicker. That monster was lightning enchanted, by the way. He was immune to lightning, and I just handed him his butthole. These guys are immune to lightning as well. Abyss Knights are always immune to lightning. And even the immune to lightning monsters, really not much of a challenge. In tandem, I honestly think that Lightning Strike is one of the better abilities on this tree. If I had to rank the lightning abilities, Lightning Fury is definitely number 1. It's a density clear tool. It does really good against big giant packs of monsters. And Lightning Strike is by far the second best as far as these two goes. And if you're not using a Javelin, you can't use this ability. So if you're not using a Javelin, if you're using a spear, like a self-wielded infinity in this particular case, then Lightning Strike is going to be your better AoE damage effect, which puts it at number 1 for the spear character. It's number 2 in terms of the Javelin character, and you would definitely use Lightning Fury over it. Charge Strike is by far the second best ability in this tree because it is very good single target damage. And while I absolutely love single target damage, it's still single target damage, which is why Charge Strike gets demoted to number 2, because it doesn't really do very well in the large groups. But the combination of the two is kind of insane. I mean, as you can see, putting the Lightning Strike up and then using the Charge Strike to finish off the monsters works very well, because you get that initial damage going, which is hitting everything on the screen, and then you follow up with the Charge Strike, which just does absolutely amazing. Not really sure there's much more to go over with this skill. The lightning, or rather the chain lightning on this ability, can't be blocked. It can't be avoided pretty much in any way, shape, or form, except for, I think, Javazon, or your lightning Javazon, or your just Amazon in general avoids. I think the Amazon avoidances can dodge it, but that's about it. This one's kind of a weird one, is that the represented effect doesn't necessarily show you the correct damage output. So when you're watching the lightning travel back and forth between the monsters, sometimes you're going to notice that it doesn't do any damage. And it's not necessarily that it's not doing damage. It's that the game is not accurately showing you what's going on. So a lot of people don't know this about this ability, is that we see the lightning traveling back and forth, and you would assume that that is the pattern that the damage is taking with the lightning. But the truth is that it actually does something a little bit different than what you're seeing on the screen. And so the damage output actually works kind of like on its own behind the scenes. And what it's showing us is just kind of like a light show, something that we can see that doesn't necessarily represent exactly what's going on. I mean, it's something similar to what we're seeing, but it's not exact. And I would imagine even at times, depending on if it's just one or two monsters, it's probably pretty close to what's actually happening behind the scenes, but it's not what's happening like behind the scenes. It's something else entirely. And I think chain lightning in general just kind of works this way because there's so many little things going on in the background. It has to decide which monster it's jumping to, where they're standing, and a lot of the times you will notice there's desyncs that go on. The monsters aren't necessarily standing where you think they're standing. So a lot of the times, the monsters aren't in the correct places that the server is interpreting them as. So when you attack with Lightning Strike, what you're seeing on your client and what's actually happening on the server are kind of different because the monsters aren't really standing in the same places that they are on your screen. Not exactly, anyway. And this does affect who essentially the lightning strike is choosing to jump to, because it pretty much always jumps to the closest monster. So if it says that there's a monster close to you, but he's actually like 13 yards away, on your screen it will jump to that monster, but on the server it's not going to jump to that monster. It's going to jump to somebody else. And there's an inconsistency there between the way that the chain lightning works, the lightning strike works, versus what you actually see. There is also a physical damage component to Lightning Strike, which isn't really too important because you don't really spam it. But it is nice that you can actually hit to get some of that mana back that you're burning. And it does cost 9 mana per hit, which is actually pretty decent compared to the 15 mana cost on Charge Strike. So you do get Crushing Blow, Open Wounds, Deadly Strike, and things like that on the physical hit of Lightning Strike, and that's if you land the physical hit. As far as I'm aware, you do not have to actually land the physical hit to get the lightnings to come forth. So you kind of get that for free, basically. But if you're not hitting the targets, you're also not stealing any mana, and as you can see, my mana is at 0. Recently in one of the patches, also, they had reduced the synergy requirements for Lightning Strike, Charge Strike, and Power Strike, which was really awesome. If you take a look at Lightning Fury, you'll see that Lightning Fury has 4 synergy requirements, which is pretty insane. Whereas Lightning Strike and Charge Strike only have 3. Lightning Fury was removed as a synergy requirement for Lightning Strike. And the reason why they did this was because it was too many synergy requirements. Back in the original version of the game, to max out Lightning Strike, it required 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 points to max out Lightning Strike, which was insane. And for a Spearzon who wasn't going to use Lightning Fury, it was really kind of frustrating that you had to put 20 points into an ability that you had no intention of ever using. And that's one of the silly things that they changed in, I think it was 2.4, they changed it, so that now it only requires the 3 synergies instead of all 4. But if you take a look, Charge Strike requires the Lightning Bolt synergy, and so does Lightning Strike. Lightning Bolt is this one right here that requires a Javelin. So even though they did remove Lightning Fury as a synergy from these two, they didn't remove Lightning Bolt as a synergy. So you're still going to end up with one useless ability when you max out the damage output on these, which I actually don't have maxed. Let me go ahead and respec real quick, because I want to see the maximum damage output. So to get the maximum damage output, we're going to need to put 20 points into Lightning Bolt, 20 points into Charge Strike, 20 points into Lightning Strike, and 20 points into Power Strike, which gives us a total bolt damage of 7,562. A little bit better. a little bit better than it was before, for sure. And our charge bolt has gone up to 9,230, which is definitely a little bit better. And should honestly help us kill targets even faster now. Let's do a quick check before we end the video, shall we? Of course, these guys are always lightning immune, so it's interesting to see how quickly they die as lightning immune monsters. Just stealing all my mana away. That's right, give me mana potions. Soul rune. It's a soul rune. Take it easy. Get him. I want to see the lightning work by itself. It's so pretty. Don't you poopies pooping on me. I ain't got no mana to attack with. Come here, come here. Eh. There you go. Give me that mana potion. Eh. Need more mana. Come here. Get punked. Stop stealing all my mana. I need that for stuff. As you can see, mana does become an issue with this build, specifically because the physical damage is rather low, combined with the fact that, well, you need relatively large amounts of mana steal, and you also actually need to be hitting the target, which also comes into play. All of this is something that you have to balance out with your character. So the more your character needs mana, the more you're going to have to figure it out. Javazons, for instance, lightning Javazons have this issue a lot. Lightning Javazons will actually run things like Phoenix, Silkweaves, Valkwing, even Wraithflight for the plus 15 mana after each kill. But it's not something that you have an option with on a Spearzon specifically, so you have to come up with other options. The easiest way, honestly, with a physical damage class is to stack as much mana leech as you can. And honestly, make sure that you're actually hitting the targets, which is a big thing. Attack rating isn't really displayed here for Lightning Strike, so I'm not really sure exactly what the hit chance is for my character. But I'm pretty sure that the physical damage effect does require attack rating. And it doesn't really say. But in any case, you definitely want to make sure that you're building your character in a specific way to counter the massive mana cost of this ability. As you can see with my particular character, I'm just constantly running out of mana all the time. I don't believe I have any mana leech on this character. I got 5% life leech, and I've got no mana leech, which is a pretty sad thing. I probably could work in, instead of a Bull Kathos, probably like a really nice dual leech ring. Maybe even try and work in some mana leech on my gloves would definitely be helpful here. And not really sure. There's definitely some other options as far as mana leech is concerned. Maybe I could even run a meditation merc, seeing as how I don't necessarily need the conviction because I'm running the conviction aura myself, right? Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we are talking about Lightning Strike. And as always, keep watching. And next episode is probably going to be a barbarian skill, so we shall see.